Anime is becoming more and more popular throughout the world every day. Although many great animes are being released in the present, I want to talk about what makes 90s anime so captivating, and why so many are regarded as masterpieces even 20 to 30 years in the future. In short, why do 90s anime hit different? Some of my favorite animes are those made in the 90s. Original One Piece, Berserk, Rurouni Kenshin when you ignore the author's side interests. All of these are some of my tops, and to me, provide something different that other animes simply can't. I find it really hard to articulate exactly what that something is. Is it pure nostalgia, the comfort of a simpler time in my life? Is it an appreciation for the art style of the time? The attachment to the characters and their unique personalities? To me, it's all of these things together and more. Nowadays, I feel as though the formula to creating a popular anime has been nearly perfected. I love some of the stuff that's coming out right now. Although, to me, it just doesn't have the essence that 90s anime has. I want to talk about some of the main things I believe contribute to what makes 90s anime quote unquote hit different for me personally. Now, in general, I believe the depth of characters in 90s anime should not be overlooked. Some characters feel so fleshed out and intentionally written, but it's usually subtle and presented in a creative or clever way. Back then, there wasn't nearly as much to base characters off of. Ideas were being born left and right. Some of the most iconic characters were created here, like Spike from Cowboy Bebop, Guts from Berserk, Yusuke from Yu Hakusho. Let's just say there's a reason so many current anime take heavy inspiration from ones created in the 90s. Let's take Guts for example. On the surface, Guts seems like a stoic, strong-willed, and antisocial man who only knows battle. In the beginning, he is exactly that, but once he joins the Band of the Hawk, things change and his personality is built upon. He grows as a character with the story. He learns to care about things other than his own survival, and he slowly learns to trust again. Eventually, he becomes a well-respected and strong leader for the band. This was the intent from the beginning, so why didn't the story just begin with him at that point? To take the time to build upon him and truly show how and why he is the way that he is done absolutely brilliantly by Miura. Obviously, good storytelling isn't limited to only anime released in the 90s, but stories like Guts's had set a precedent and example for anime after to build off of, as well as becoming a very iconic character in anime as a whole. The color palettes of the 90s are just so good. The diversity of colors complementing each other make it so there's always something interesting to look at on screen. With this said, their palettes also didn't have nearly as many colors to choose from, and with these limited palettes came much more bold and contrasting colors in order to make it pop and display well on older TVs. In a way, it kind of feels like the artists were given more freedom to actually make art when working on these shows, and by that, I mean more creative reign in how they would create these scenes. Like, I don't know when they decided to stop putting these sparkles into shots that were trying to portray whimsical magic elements. These are sick, and I feel like they need to bring sparkles back. Also, just look at these backgrounds. You can feel the passion and fun they had creating these. They're absolutely beautiful to look at. Taking a moment to appreciate these is very necessary. Everything that you see on screen was a decision made by a human. It is so prevalent in every intricate detail and how much soul these have. The technology and how anime was made in the 90s is vastly different when compared to even the 2000s, let alone today. Then, animators were a lot more limited in terms of what could be achieved within a reasonable time and had to find creative solutions in order to portray what they wanted to on screen. In a time when things are becoming more and more automated, this style and creativity feels so much more soulful, so human. It has a certain essence that you can't really put words to, something you just don't really find with digitized animation. It is something that I believe the world is severely lacking at the moment, something that is needed right now more than ever. I find comparing anime released in the 90s to their more modern remakes to be extremely interesting, as I almost always prefer the original style of those released in the 90s. The original Hunter x Hunter, released in 1999, while telling the same story as its modern-day counterpart, is vastly different in animation style, color palette, and overall vibe. I personally find the 90s version to be a lot more dark and atmospheric, whereas the newer one to be much more easygoing and adventurous. Most people would agree the newer version is the one to watch because the pacing is vastly better. I agree with this, but it is unfortunate that the 90s version is overlooked nowadays, as I do believe it has some things to offer that the 2011 version can't. Similar story with the 1993 version of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Although the general consensus is that the remake is the one to watch, there is a value that the older version has that seems to be forgotten about. The original Berserk, released in 1997, definitely shows some of the limitations of the technology at the time, but when compared to the 2016 version, well, I know my preference. Low-hanging fruit, I know, but a very distinct example of stylistic choices nonetheless. The music in 90s anime is so freaking good. It's so invigorating and magical feeling. The amount of planning and effort that went into these themes, matching the style and tone of the scenes they were attached to, is pure magic. Inuyasha, Rurouni Kenshin, Sailor Moon, Yu Hakusho, these are just some examples of anime with excellent OSTs. 90s anime provide absolute bangers that are iconic and unforgettable. I think it's safe to say that any casual Berserk enjoyer has listened to the Guts theme on repeat when they're feeling down at one point or another. It's crazy how strong hearing as a sense can be, and how a simple melody can immediately take you back to a previous time in your life as if you are living in that moment again. It's beautiful to travel back with music, and it goes to show just how powerful it can be even years later. I personally remember the Inuyasha OST often playing on the family TV growing up. Then, I almost never even paid attention to it, but nowadays, when I listen, it's like magic. It takes me back to those simple days of staying at home, being comfortable and content with the life I was living, not having to worry about things like bills or work. It gives me not only a sense of longing to see another day through the lens of young, innocent eyes, but a certain comfort that a song can return me there at my disposal, if only for a little while. When I watch anime released in the 90s, it induces a feeling that's hard to describe. Everybody knows this feeling. It's comforting and reminiscent of a simpler time, while simultaneously giving a feeling of life and the things that make it worth living. Sometimes, when life gets to be too much, it's important to take solace in things that help us not to forget about the cruelty of the world, but to remember the joys it can equally offer. What a privilege it is to be able to get lost in another world created in a different time and live there for a while. Thanks a lot for watching. I wanted to try something a little bit different for this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what your comfort anime is, 90s or not, down in the comments. Have a good one.